The next concept that we will learn is transaction, right? Very important concept when it comes to database is understanding a transaction, right? Now, what is a transaction? So say for example, there are 2 or 3 number of queries that you want to run. You have to guarantee that all the query will either succeed, or if one query fails, we have to bring the database to its previous state. We cannot have one query succeeded and one query failed, right? What is a classic example of this one? Say for example, there is a banking transaction happening, right? There is a person A sending say 200 rupees to person B, right? So how database query will be written for this one? So what we will do, we will take account number of A, update its balance, set it to minus 200, and we will take the account ID of person B, update its account balance to plus 200, right? Both the operation should succeed, right? If one is succeeded and one fails, then our database will be in a corrupt state, right? So when one person sends the money, other person should definitely receive that one, right? Say for example, the person A, its database operation could not be succeeded, right? So the amount will not be deducted from his account, but the person B will get the money, right? So here the database will be in a corrupt state, right? So there are few operations in which we want to maintain atomicity. What does that mean? That means all the operations, it could be insert, update, it could be any sequence of operation, it has all of them have to run successfully. If one of them fails, we have to roll back the database to its previous state, right? So the technical term is rollback. That means if one transaction fails, we have to do? We have to move the data to its previous state. So how can we achieve this one? Of course, we have to use something called as a transaction. So before you run a series of query that you want to have a atomic behavior, you have to start a transaction, right? And when all the database queries are run, you have two options, right? One is to roll back the transaction. The other option is to commit the transaction. When you roll back the transaction, the database will go back to its previous state. If you commit the transaction, all the database operations that we have done, it will be reflected into the database server. Till then, it will not actually go into the database server, right? So let us see one example, right? So I will create a table called employees, right? And I will insert some data into the table, right? So here I have inserted some data, right? I will clean this one. I will say select star from employees, right? I will run this one, right? Now here what I have done is, in my workbench I have connected to the same database, right? So here also if I run this one, I'll get the same data, right? Now, of course, why I am showing you this workbench example, I will tell you. So what I will do is, so here we have the data item, right? Now what I want to do is, say for example, I want to update employee and delete one employee, right? And to do this, I want to take help of transaction, right? So what I will do, I will first execute this start transaction statement. That means after clicking on this start transaction, whatever query I will run, either I have to commit or I have to roll back, right? Till I don't commit, these changes will not actually go to the database server, right? So what I will do, I will start the transaction. So I'll click on execute, right? Start transaction. Now what I want to do is, I want to update this. So what I'm doing, update employee, that salary equals to 45,000, where employee ID equals to 1, right? So I will execute this one, right? Now if I do a select star from employee, here you can see it is updated to 45,000. But here is the catch. Since this is in a transaction and this is the same connection that I am using, that's why it is reflected here. If I open workbench and if I run this one, here you can see we still have 50,000, right? Because what I have done is I have started a transaction. Till I have not committed, it will not go to the database server, and all other connection will still see the old value, right? Now, what I want to do, I want to delete this employee ID too, right? So I will execute this one. And in this connection, if I check, the employee is deleted, right? But again, if I open this workbench and see here, see no change here still because I have not committed my transaction. Now I have two options here. Either I can roll back or I can commit. So for now, let us see what rollback will do. So now here we have two employees and here the salary is 45,000, right? Now I will do a rollback, right? A rollback. Now if I click on select star, you will see we still get back the 50,000 and the other employee that we have deleted that has also come back. Why? Because we started a transaction. Either we can roll back or we can commit. I showed you how. I showed you the rollback one, right? So if I roll back that one, the database will come to its previous state. Right here also, if you see, we still have the same data. Actually, data never changed, right? In the database server. Here, the data was getting changed because it is the same connection, right? Within the same connection, it will show me the updated data, right? Now, in the same connection, why it is showing the updated data, right? Say, for example, I want to delete few employees, right? But you know, delete is a very risky operation, right? It has to be very accurate. Even if by mistake I delete something wrong, I will not be able to get it back, right? So this is one example in which I can start a transaction, do a delete, check within the same connection if all the data that I actually intend to delete is deleted or something wrong data has been deleted. If everything is intended, all the data that you intend to delete is actually deleted, then you can commit the transaction. But if by mistake you have deleted some wrong data, or say for example you forgot the where condition, right? It will delete everything. But if you have actually started a transaction, after running the delete statement, you can run a select star. You will get the actually data that has been deleted within the same connection. Now, if you think you have deleted some wrong data or you have run a delete query without a where condition, you can easily do a rollback, right? This is a scenario in which transaction is very important, right? You can start a transaction, run the query, see the output. If everything is correct, do a rollback. Sorry, do a commit. Otherwise, do a rollback, right? Now we will check the example of commit, right? So I will start the transaction, right? Transaction started. I will execute this one and I will execute this one. So salary is updated to 45,000 and employee ID 2 is deleted. Now I'll execute the select star. So if you see here, this is what these two statement have done, right? Now as usual, since I have not done the commit, I still have the old data, right? Now what I will do, I will commit. As soon as I commit, I will run this one. It will actually go to the database server and update the data value, right? So here I am getting the new data that has come after this two query statement, right? Now, if I open another connection, most importantly, here if you see, I run this one. Here also, the data is now reflecting because from the other connection, I did the query and then I did a commit. So as soon as I did the commit, it went to the database server and other connections, they will get the data, new data, right? So if you see here, it is 45 and employee ID 2 is not available with us. That means it is deleted, right? So this is the concept of transaction.